Hey, everybody. Welcome to Food Literacy for All 2023. We are so happy to have you all here, to be here, at least virtually together tonight. A few things about this class. So one thing is that it's actually different than almost any other class on campus for a few key reasons. One of them is that it's a community academic partnership course. So not only is the class co-led by university and community leadership, but also there's students. You might be here, maybe you're an enrolled student in the class, or you might be here as a community member. You may have no affiliation or connection to the University of Michigan at all, and that's totally okay. We welcome you here. We're glad you're here. We know we have diverse ages, and we have people often tuning in from around the world. So we'll find out where you're coming from in just a minute. Another really special thing about this class is that I get to work with this amazing team. You can see everybody here. You want to everybody wave, hey, what's up? Here's the team. Specifically, Jessica, Shakara, and I have been meeting and dreaming about this course and planning this course since the summer. And we've been so excited to start since like back in June, I think is when we started. So I'm going to have this awesome team. Everyone makes a lot of people to make this class happen. So I'm going to invite everybody to go ahead and introduce themselves, and we'll start with Dr. Walker.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Dr. Jessica Kenyatta Walker. I'm assistant professor in American culture and Afro-American and African studies at the university. And I'm happy you all are here and joining us, albeit virtually. My work, very briefly, deals in food and race broadly, and specifically, I spend a lot of time thinking about African-American food traditions, everything from discourses of nutrition to citizenship, belonging, authenticity, all of that good stuff. So welcome, and I'll pass it off to Shakara.
Thanks, Jessica. Peace, everybody. I'm so excited to be here with you all. I'm Shakara Tyler, she, they pronouns, and I'm a new lecturer in the School for Environment and Sustainability. And I also work with the Detroit Black Community Food Security Network and the Detroit Black Farmer Land Fund. So really deeply rooted in grassroots community organizing and building. And I also work with Black farmers. I am a Black farmer myself, and I work with Black farmers across the country. And I'll pass it to the next person.
Nayexi, I will pass it to you.
Hi, y'all. Good evening. My name is Nayexi Hernandez. I am a first-year grad student here at SEAS. I'm studying ecosystem science and management. And I'm very passionate about food sovereignty. Traditionally, I've worked in Latin America. And I'm really looking forward to this class and to getting to know all of y'all.
Hello, everyone. My name is Megan Gross. You may call me Megan. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the other GSI for the course. I'm also a master's student in the School for Environment Sustainability, and I study environmental justice and agroecology. And I'm really here to investigate all of the themes that this course is investigating. So I'm just really excited to do it in a new way through these exciting speakers with all of you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kimmy Vanderweg, and I'm a second-year master's student in the School of Public Health in Nutritional Sciences and Dietetics. And this is my second year working on the Food Literacy for All class. So I'm really excited to see what this year's theme has to offer and work with all the amazing speakers. So I'm looking forward to engaging with everyone.
Hi, I'm Chris Taylor, media consultant at Central Campus LSA Technology Services in Ann Arbor. I've been a video conference specialist for about 20 years now, and I do the audio, video in the classrooms and here for the food literacy. And I've coined the moniker DJ Cite because I started playing all the music throughout these webinars.
Awesome. Such a great team. My name is Lily Fink Shapiro. I manage a group on campus that puts this course on called the Sustainable Food Systems Initiative. And I have co-led this course since the beginning, and I think we're in the 7th year now. This is very clearly one of my favorite parts of my job. I love this class, and it's just awesome to work with such a fantastic team. So let's hear a little bit more about the semester and about this class. One thing is, in addition to this whole team of people, We actually have funding from across campus. Specifically, I want to shout out CEW. You can check out their website in the chat. They're really co-sponsoring, co-supporting this class with us this year. And we'll talk more later in the semester about their relationship to food systems and how you might want to get involved with CEW. They're a really cool group on campus. You can see some other funders listed here: Residential College, School Public Health, SEAS, Department of American Culture, Dr. Kyle White, shout out. All right, and really quickly, just to give you an idea of what is this group, the Sustainable Food Systems Initiative, or SFSI. We're a group of over 70 affiliated faculty and staff all across campus. These are people who either research food systems or teach about food systems in some way. You can go on our website, you can check out all of our affiliated faculty and staff. You can get a sense of all the different food systems courses every semester that we offer. There's actually now, undergrad students can minor in food systems. Maybe drop in the chat if you are a food minor at U of M. We also have a new graduate certificate in sustainable food systems. Not that new anymore, it's been around for a few years. Maybe we have some of you here. Welcome if you're doing that. Also, because this is still January, I want to tell you all that we have an incredible fellowship opportunity. Oh, good. I see some Howdy Food Systems minors in the chat. Good to see you all here. Welcome. The Transformative Food Systems Fellowship, we call it the TFS Fellowship at the University of Michigan. This is for underrepresented students who want to come to U of M and study food systems at the master's level. I know we have our current cohort of TFS fellows here. You all can say what's up. You can in the chat if you want to. And we have another cohort that's going to be starting in the fall. So just applications are due January 31st. You can think there's going to be a link in the chat if you want more information. If you know someone who might be a good fit, it's a really amazing opportunity. Okay, if you feel like live tweeting the class and or discussing the class with others, you can use the hashtag Food Literacy for All. One thing to know is that we're going to have poll questions throughout each webinar. So we'll do some this week as a practice and you all kind of get the hang of it. I think we're going to give about 60 seconds for everyone to answer. Don't stress about it today because we're not going to count your attendance today based on it, but in future classes we will. Also, I've already gotten about 5 emails in the last hour about this. All classes will be filmed and available on the SFSI site. Find the link in the chat for where those will be posted. And we can send you a message on Canvas too if you're enrolled in the class. You can also just Google Food Literacy for All UMich and you will find it. Okay, this class is free. It is open to the public. Anyone from around the world can join us. You can send your mom or your uncle or whoever you want to join this class. If you're here tonight, you've probably already figured this out. It's structured as a webinar, so just fill out the webinar sessions that you're going to attend. And if you are a U of M student, please use your UMich email when you register, since that's partly tied to participation. Okay, first poll question. We'd like to hear, who are you? So you can answer right on the Zoom poll. Are you A, a U of M student enrolled for credit? Or are you B, are you a U of M student, but maybe you're not actually enrolled in the class, which is fine. You're totally welcome to be here. Maybe you work at the university, faculty or staff, or maybe I already see 37 of you are community members. You've got no affiliation with the university currently. Awesome. It looks like I'm seeing about 200 of you, over 200 of you are enrolled for credit in the class. Great. And I think, yeah, we'll see what our final numbers are, but it looks like this year might be the biggest class yet. And I'm also, I don't know if we can run 2 polls at once. You want to try? I'm also wondering where everybody's tuning in from. Maybe we have to stop one poll before we can do the next one. So are you somewhere in Southeast Michigan, Ann Arbor, Ypsi, Detroit area? Are you somewhere else in Michigan? Are you in another state? Are you outside the US somewhere? Oh, we've got somebody from Germany, Maryland, Minnesota, Nebraska. It looks like I see 200 of you are in Southeast Michigan. Duluth, Minnesota, shout out. Utah, DC, Massachusetts, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, California, Puerto Rico, New York, California. This is so exciting. Great. It looks like 6 of you are tuning in from outside the US. North Carolina, Fiji. Cool. It's great to have you all here. Okay, so we're not going to go through this every single time. So if you have a question for a guest speaker throughout the semester, please use the Q&A box. Right now, you guys were just using the chat box, but there's also a separate Q&A box on Zoom. So if you, at any point during the lecture, you have a question, please put it in the Q&A box and we will get to it. All right, and Dr. Waka, I'll hand it off to you.
So what are our goals for Food Literacy for All? It's not only for the course that you're in, but all of the archive videos that you can access at any time through the SFSI website. We're learning through multiple types of knowledge. That means readings, that means podcasts, especially that means each other. There's a lot of team-based activities involved in this course, and we're learning from a range of disciplines as well, everything from sociology and environmental sciences to nutritional sciences to philosophy. We're doing this because, and the format of this course also echoes this, it's free, right? Open to the public, open to a large range of folks. We want to increase the diversity and inclusion within the food system, within how we understand it, how we practice knowledge within the food system. And also we're doing this through a really strong, I think in the many years that this has been developed and deployed, strengthening university and community partnerships, right? So this happens always hand in hand with folks within and outside of the community. And also that's kind of a weird and a false dichotomy as well. We like to break those barriers as often as possible. So learning multiple types of knowledge, increasing diversity and inclusion, and that strong university and community partnership. So I hope you see those themes run through the course, this course, and as well as any of the videos that you can access in our archive.
All right, another goal of the course is for us to veggie back on what Jessica said. We really want to practice stretching ourselves beyond the traditional way of being in academia, and also being with each other, the way we're socialized to exist within society, right? Like it's not just about analytical thinking, critical thinking, or academic skills that we're sort of socialized to take on, right? Like through our degrees and our other roles in academia. So ceremony, spirituality, culture, like just being human with one another is so important to this work. Like there is no environmental justice, there is no food justice, there is no food sovereignty without an explicit connection to the land and the soil and the sun and the earth. And so, and just being more aware of the entire cosmic system that we exist within, right? And so we want to do something that's beyond a traditional land acknowledgement, because we know that these land acknowledgements, while they can be helpful, they can also be extremely performative. And it's like checking the box, right? And we want to be more intentional. We want to be pushing the margins and saying that we don't want to just perform this act with the understanding that genocide and enslavement and these other atrocious things have happened throughout history. We're going to acknowledge them and keep it moving. That doesn't serve any of us. And so what we're going to try today together is to center ourselves and really use our memories as ammunition to create the world that we want to be in. And one of my most favorite methods to do that is through a meditative process. So we're going to do a land meditation, and I'm asking you all to trust me in this. I know it's probably untraditional. It's probably something that you're not used to doing, but please be along for the ride, trust, and surrender to whatever capacities you can. So we're going to begin by taking some deep breaths. And the music can begin as well, if we can get that rolling. Take some deep breaths, maybe in through your nose, out through your mouth. Maybe sit up straight in your chair. Breathe, stay with your breath. Close your eyes. Turn off the camera. It's all up to you. Whatever makes you feel most comfortable in this space and time. And think about how you got here. Think about why you do this work. How you have arrived to doing this work. What exactly does doing this work mean to you? Really grapple with your relationship to land and that your feet are on right this second. What does that relationship to land have to do with the work that you like to do? How you've gotten to where you are. What is here? What is this land? Thank you. Yeah, there's a lot of choppiness with the music, so we're just going to cut it for the very end of this process. Thank you all for your patience as we work through the technical difficulties. So to replace the music, take in the sounds around you. It may be the sound of your breath. It may be the sound of your foot tapping, but bring yourself back to a space where you could be in line with your mind, body, and spirit. And think about your relationship to land as it relates to why you are here in this class and the work that you are doing, and maybe even the work that you would like to do. Breathe. How can you build a healthier relationship with the land, given the histories, given the presents, and given the futures? Take a few more minutes to sit with your feelings and your thoughts. Breathe. If you have lost your breath, open your eyes. Return to the camera if you turned it off for this process. Come back into your body. And hold on to those reflections, because those thoughts are really going to carry you much further than you think that they could. And we're going to be visiting these themes. I'm sure many of the themes that came up for you in your reflections, we're going to be revisiting throughout the course. So hold on to those and pull them out when it makes sense. So thank you all for trusting me on this journey. And now we're going to transition to talking about white supremacy culture narratives as it relates to food systems and food justice, food sovereignty, maybe even environmental justice more broadly. So we know that the food system is not broken, right? That's a narrative that we often hear from even some well-intentioned social justice spaces. But we know because the system of white supremacy and the intersections with racial capitalism, heteropatriarchy, colonialism, imperialism, more generally, this is all strategy. Nothing just falls out the sky and creates highly inequitable outcomes, right? Like this is a very strategic process that has created the world that we exist within. So white supremacy culture, in essence, is the environment or the society that has created a culture of individualism, paternalism, and neoliberalism. I'm assuming that all of us have a strong understanding, or at least a basic understanding, of what those three things mean. If not, please type in the chat. We could have a quick crash course if it's helpful. But I want to really bring your attention to the various white supremacy culture narratives that are pushed in academia or even at the policy level or private industry level that is really counterintuitive to building a more just food system, a more just world generally. So based on what we see here in this column, an opposite to the individualism, paternalism, and neoliberalism, at the top, if they only knew, or vote with your fork, and the list goes on. Does anyone have a particular example that comes to mind based on these labels of what a white supremacy culture narrative could look like? How is it played out in real life? Don't be shy. No, there's no wrong answer. So please maybe practice some vulnerability and just offer an idea. Yes, charity and the nonprofit industrial complex. Thank you. So the focus on food charity, right? Like we assume that food pantries and food banks, which are very helpful, obviously, right? But what does that do to lessen the dependency of people that are, again, strategically oppressed by the system? How does that create community self-determination and facilitate radical self-care and like autonomous community building? Like how do these dependency models that food charity pushes create a world where we're no longer dependent on the system that exploits and extracts from us, right? Okay, yeah. Okay, I'm excited. The chat is popping off. Private property against foraging. Right. So what particular narrative would that fall within? And it doesn't have to be a specific category. It could be a category that's not listed here. People of color can't afford basic necessities, right? And so that probably cuts across many of these, right? Like vote with your fork is one of my favorite ones to dismantle, assuming that if people cannot buy locally slaughtered chicken from the farmer's market, they are not supporting local food systems, right? Like not everyone can afford to vote with your fork. If I need to go to Walmart to purchase the Tyson Purdue chicken, that's of course not raised or grown with all of the sustainable principles as a local farm would use, does that mean that I'm not participating in food sovereignty or food justice when I literally cannot afford it, right? Like, so the vote with your fork is one of my most favorite examples of economic ableism, where we just make assumptions based on our particular economic situation of our house. Judging people by what they choose to eat. Oh yes, another one, right? And the food shaming, the food blaming is very particular to people of color cultures, even poor people, but we know there's a whole slew of literature around how Black people are shamed into soul food, right? Just as one example. the very long history of that. And I know Dr. Walker can unfold that in really beautiful ways for you all. All right, going back to the chat, the idea that eating choices are based solely in nutritional knowledge, right? As if the USDA My Plate is the epitome of what we all should be using as our guide to eating healthy. Yes, yes. The assumptions and the contradictions of the system are so frustrating. Foreign military inventions, right? That cuts across many of them. Vote with your fork to get change in the system to more organic foods, yet those foods are outside of the budget of many community members. Yep, we talked about that. Building supermarkets as a solution to food deserts and expecting that will solve everything, right? The build it and they will come narrative. All that community needs is a Walmart. All that community needs is a Kroger or a big box grocery store that will provide healthy, so-called high quality, affordable food. Right, so in interest of time, oh wow, you all really flooded the chat. I love it. So in interest of time, we're going to move on. And I hope, again, we can return to these conversations because the entire theme, our goal for the course is to help you think more critically and also center things that are not traditionally centered as we talk about what food systems, what food justice and climate change and power actually looks like at the intersections. I'm going to pass it off to the next person. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that. And it transitions us beautifully into your first reading for the course. But before that, let's digest what we've just experienced a little bit with a poll question. Which one of these narratives is new to you? Okay, so as we're waiting for our results to roll in, one of the reasons why we focus on cultural narratives is that's often how we frame a problem in the first place, right? So it's not just about focusing on the solution, but this course is really centered on roots, meaning how do we even see the issue? What terms are we using to describe the issue? And like I said, your first reading on Kyle White, which actually helps us kind of sit in that notion of climate crisis and helps us rethink that from a philosophical perspective is going to be very important there. So if you felt uncomfortable with some of these terms and some of these words, that's a really good sign. Discomfort is a sign that we're learning and we're growing. But I'm wondering if we have any poll results here to see how folks are feeling.
Jessica, if you can't see them yet, I'll just read them out.
Okay.
We've got 4% of folks who say individualism.
Okay, I see.
33%. Okay, go ahead. I'll let you do it.
Okay, so it looks like most folks are saying that paternalism and neoliberalism are new. We got 20 and 20 say that all of the above are new, and 27% are saying none of the above are new. So they kind of work out around 30, high 20s for all of these terms. And like I said, it's fine if you don't know them, but what it really helps us center and the focus again on those cultural narratives helps us center what the actual goals of this course, the learning goals of this course are going to be. So like I said, we are starting with this notion of social differences, not just as something that adds a particularity to food consumption or to agricultural practices, but that which actually can culminate in a knowledge system or a knowledge world that helps us change even again, what is the problem of climate? What is the crisis at hand? And we're doing this by engaging a range of creative assignments and skills, again, from a broad interdisciplinary perspective, which is reflected, of course, in our teaching team as well, infographics, writing skills, a whole range. When we want to name and define the forces that shape our food system in the first place, and we really want to describe efforts for a more sustainable and equitable food system in and around Southeast Michigan, and especially in Detroit, right? So we want to pull down this, what might seem like a large idea of these kind of white supremacy cultural narratives into our assignments and into the learning goals for each session. Now I want to get us into going through who our guest speakers will be throughout the week, and we'll just do short little bios on folks. Ozawa Benishi Elbert will be here on the 17th and will be presenting on community food systems for climate justice. They are a climate activist and scholar, part of the Climate Justice Alliance, one of the founding members of the Indigenous Environmental Network. Raj Patel will be here on the 24th. We'll be sharing a link to screen Ants and the Grasshopper. You can watch that at home. We'll also have a limited capacity screening available, and the information for that location is on your Canvas. But we'll also be sending out more information on that. Look to your Canvas announcements and email for information on that. And Raj Patel is a scholar and activist, especially in the peasant movement and agroecology. He's a co-creator, co-director and producer of the film. And so that would be a really great opportunity to watch content, watch, from these really diverse range of sources that we have for your course, but also get to interact with the person who made it. Fozia Ismaili will be here on the 31st, a UK-based Somali supper club creator, among a lot of other things, connects race with colonization and East African, especially food knowledges. And they'll be talking about food culture as companion. They've been featured on Vice Munchies, on BBC, and have lectured at the Oxford Food Symposium. So that is also piggybacking off of, or veggie backing, which is a new term I learned earlier, from Raj Patel's documentary.
Great. Thanks, Dr. Walker. The following week in February, we're really excited to welcome Vanessa Parrish and Sunny Levine, who are joining us from a group called the Queer Food Foundation. And you can check them out. You can follow them on social media if you're interested. They've got a good website. Their talk is going to be called The Intersections of Queer Food. And then in mid-February, we're inviting Naz Dory to come. Naz's talk is called A Revolution to Take Back Our Ocean and Sea-Based Foods. And I think so often when we talk about the food system, we focus on land-based foods. And then there is this whole very important world that both connects to the climate crisis and majorly to the food systems in the ocean. And we are going to focus on that this week with Naz. Then we have Dr. Ashley Gripper joining us. Dr. Gripper's talk is called Practices of Care and Relationship Building, a qualitative analysis of urban agriculture's impact on agency and well-being in Philadelphia. And Shakara, I'll pass it to you.
Then the next week we're gonna have Aaliyah Frazier, who's a peasant agroecologist and farmer in Trinidad. She'll be talking about food sovereignty and chocolate. They have a cocoa farm cooperative or emerging cooperative in Trinidad, and it's really what the work that they're doing around cocoa cooperativism and chocolate and food sovereignty is one of the most beautiful examples of Black food sovereignty in the African diaspora. So I'm excited for her to share her beautiful stories with us. And then our favorite Fast Food for Thought, the 8th annual Fast Food for Thought on March 14th. This is in person. We'll share more details very soon. We will have 10 interdisciplinary faculty members give a series of 5-minute talks related to food and or agriculture. And I know this is a very popular event. I've watched the recordings in the past and just really thought-provoking lectures, and during these lightning talks are really helpful to digest enormous amounts of information. So looking forward to sharing space with you all in person in a few weeks. And then we will have Liz Carlisle on March 28th. She'll be talking about her book, Healing Grounds, Climate Justice and the Deep Roots of Regenerative Farming. And then we'll have Diane Glave and she'll be talking about her book, Rooted in the Earth, Reclaiming the African American Heritage, which is a really beautiful depiction of, or it brings together Black feminist theories and Black agrarianism and other kinds of environmental related theories. And yeah, it's one of a kind books. I'm really excited to have her as well.
Okay, we've got one more quiz question for you.
Awesome.
What do you all think? Most of the food consumed globally is grown by small farmers. Do you think that's true? Not true? Let's just get a sense of what you all think. Oh yeah, or you have the option to say, I have no idea, which is legit. You're here, it's all right.
Yeah, and just a little background on this question. It's highly contested on where a majority of the world's food comes from. And if you ask corporations, I'm sure they would have a very different answer than peasant farmers, small farmers, just everyday people that are growing food either in their backyards, in their front yards, on vacant lots next to their houses, or even like 1 to 10 acres of land, whether it's in the city or in the countryside. Yeah, it's a myth that needs to be demystified from my perspective. So what do you think?
I think it's amazing. We are split 50-50 exactly. There's 110 of you think it's true. Well, 108 of you think it's false. And then there's 28 of you who have no idea. So we are going to say that this is true and that the agroecological models that we look to and the scholars who we look to who study these topics, some of whom who are actually at U of M, find that this is by far true, and the actual percentages numbers vary. You can find lots of discussions on it online, but it's clear from our vantage point that this is true.
Yeah, and there are some readings on emancipatory agroecology methods and food sovereignty from a technical production lens. There are a lot of readings that are listed in the course that will contextualize this fact as we see it as fact for you.
Okay, now let's get into some of the nuts and bolts of the course, all of which can be found on Canvas through the left navigation menu, syllabus, modules, assignments, all of that. And so I'll just run through these really quickly. Important to note that we run things mostly through our modules. If something's happening that week, it's going to be in your module. And so these are weekly. Participation attendance, and you can see your weekly quizzes are just as important as your capstone group. This is a large number of people, but that doesn't mean we want you to kind of fall out. And we want you to be as engaged as we are in teaching you. And so your participation and attendance are kind of a pair. They come hand in hand. That means we don't want you skipping lecture and just doing participation. We don't want you just attending and not doing participation. So attendance is done through our Zoom polls and other tools that we might use. Could be a word cloud, could be something else. And our participation is done through our discussion boards and Harmonize. You have 2 free missed classes. That means it can be excused or unexcused. If you have excused university absences that go past the 2, that's perfectly fine. You contact your GSIs about missed classes. We'll have weekly open note quizzes. And again, look at your modules for what a weekly schedule for this course might look like. In terms of Harmonize, for those who haven't used it before, it's kind of like a Facebook version of a discussion post. It just allows you all to interact in different ways. We have a test assignment up right now under today's module. So this week we're not counting participation and attendance, but feel free to look around Harmonize to create a profile, to post something. I've created a test post here where we are probably asking you to react or reply or post one 2, 3 of these aspects will be asked of you each week. You might react twice to someone's post. We might ask you just to reply. All of that we'll be keeping track of. And so again, just asking you all to create a profile with a picture that's engaging, with some information, just another way for us to interact in a virtual space. So again, we'll use traditional Canvas discussion boards and Harmonize to assess your participation each week, along with your attendance. Our assignments for this course are team-based for the most part. If they're not your individual participation and attendance or the quizzes, you have 2 team-based projects from a menu of 5 options. There are multiple formats for this: infographics, one-page reflections, and it really is up to your team to decide which you want to pursue. And one important thing about teamwork is that we're not just assessing the outcome, but we want you all to create a different sense of accountability because it is such a large group. So your team will be the people that you go to first with any questions about course logistics or assignments. And then you go to your GSIs. So again, it really just creates a different form of accountability. We want to also know in all of your assessments, really how you're thinking through everyday relationships with the food system, and how you're also drawing on your own experiences or your field or your major, or even your professional goals to rethink your relationship to the food system. So it's not necessarily, memorizing the guest lectures every week or drawing, or recalling everything that happens in a reading, but we really want to emphasize the connection you're making between your own field of study and your everyday engagements. So please do look through those menu of options for your teamwork. And then your capstone project, our final project, due the 25th, is to investigate a food systems problem or solution. Hopefully you could tell where we've started with this course, whether it be the goals that we mentioned earlier, or the emphasis on white supremacy cultural narratives, that we really are actually interested in how the problem is framed in the first place, getting to the root of the issue. So this capstone really asks you to delve deep into that. And you'll be doing that by creating some sort of social media shareable. It could be an infographic, it could be an Instagram deck or Instagram story. You're calling back to at least 3 of our lectures. You're drawing on readings. And these will be in the same teams that you're working on for your assignments, for your previous 2 assignments. We also have extra credits. I didn't mention this in the previous slide, but we have extra credit that's available. You can look through that on Canvas, volunteer opportunities. And every session will also review these kind of nuts and bolts, what's happening with our assessments, what's happening with course logistics every week. Again, our social media shareables that we're asking for your capstone, we understand it as a portable skill. It goes from job to job. It goes from class to class. I think it is interesting. It is fun. It's always interesting to note how the media that we consume on a daily basis is created, things that we take for granted, like graphic design, or how we choose also to present information in an infographic, and what's the process of that. And we also want you to share what you've learned in food literacy for all with a large amount of people. We want this to be applicable to all aspects of your life. And certainly conversations on the climate crisis are not, hopefully they're around you and they're not, hiding from you, that you can engage in content from this course and apply it in a lot of different ways. Okay, got one more poll coming up. Okay, this poll was actually a trick question because the right answer isn't in the, Jordan knew it. But again, 2 free absences, free meaning these are, don't have to be university excused absences. Again, if you have university excused absences, that does not count as part of your 2. So for religious reasons, or for sporting events, or for any job related things, those do not count towards your 2. So please be in conversation with both GSIs for that. But those are 2 free absences. Just a reminder to also read through the syllabus very carefully. There are things in there that can help you. There's some more details on the things that we've gone over here. But that is there to ease your mind a little bit. Okay. So now as we conclude, I want us all to participate in a word cloud exercise. The link to this is in the chat. If you could go ahead and click on that and write a word. You'll be prompted to kind of write a word that you're left with after our time together today. It could be a term you just learned about, an idea, assignment, a name, one of our lectures, anything that you want. A Bob Marley lyric. Wrap up here. I see a lot of, I'm really glad to see the veggie back made it. Neoliberalism, individualism, I see that. I think that's a really good term to kind of rest on for some contemporary iterations of white supremacy, cultural narratives. Culture, community, intersectionality, fun, peasant, culture, food systems, white supremacy, meditation, land meditation. I see that, togetherness.
All right, then I think DJ Site, you can hit the music. And for everyone else who's here, thanks for joining us. And we'll see you next Tuesday, same time, same place.